Hello friends, welcome to Banker Zone. See, here we will be discussing Unit 2 of the Indian Economy and Indian Financial System. The name of the unit is Sectors of the Indian Economy. Okay, now start. A role and the importance of the primary, secondary, tertiary sector, quaternary, and the quinary sectors. Okay, so in our Indian economy, we are having primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, as well as the quinary sectors. Okay, you all are very much familiar about the primary, secondary, and tertiary. What is the quaternary? Right, what is a quaternary and what is the quinary? Okay, all sectors we will discuss. Now see first. See here, what do you mean by the primary sector? What is primary sector? See, this sector includes the activities where there is a direct use of the natural resources, as an for example, as agriculture, forestry, fishing, fuel, metal, or the minerals. Okay, for what is the primary? Where there is a direct use of the natural resources. For example, agriculture sector. We are using directly whatever the natural resources we are having, for example land we are having, water we are having, that we are using for the purpose of production, right? Even in case of forestry, in case of fishing also, right? In case of fuels, we are directly using the fuels, right? As well as the metals we are directly collecting from the mines. Okay, so these are the sector where we are using the direct natural resources. It is called as the primary sector. Now the agrarian economy exists when the agriculture sector provide at least 50% of the country's national revenue and the livelihood. That means if the contribution of a sector, for example contribution of agriculture sector is 50 or more than 50, then we can call this this economy is nothing but the agrarian economy. If it is a service economy, if the now see India is having service contribution of a service sector in the Indian economy is more than 50%. So our economy is service economy. Our economy, Indian economy is service. But during the 1950, when we just got the independence, our economy was the agrarian economy. Okay, so remember now our economy is service economy. So understood what do you mean by the economy? If the agriculture sector dominates, it is agrarian economy. Okay, now we learn about what is a primary sector. Simply when there is a direct use of the natural resources. Okay, now we study secondary sector. So this sector include all the economic activity that involve the processing of the raw material extracted from the primary sector. So secondary sector is the sector where we use the raw material which is we are getting from primary sector. This is nothing but the industrial sector. Okay, so see what is the primary sector? For example agriculture, for example production of the sugar cane, production of the sugar cane, this is the primary sector, for example agriculture. And secondary sector, if you are having the sugar cane factory, okay, if there is a sugarcane factory, okay, then this sugarcane factory will use the sugarcane which is produced in the primary sector. Okay, that is agriculture that will be used, and from that they will make the sugar. Okay, and this is nothing but the sugar factory is the industry. Okay, what is secondary sector? Simply the sector which processes the raw material extracted from the primary sector, and this is called as the also called as the industrial sector. Okay, so in simple words, primary sector is the sector where we are using raw material directly. We are producing basically the raw material which will be used for the industrialization. So for example primary means simply you remember the agriculture or the sugar cane production. Secondary, you simply remember the industrial sector, for example sugar factory. Okay, so in this way you can easily remember. Now see the next, tertiary sector. So what is the tertiary sector? Tertiary sector, see this sector include all the economic activity that produce services such as the education, healthcare, banking and communication. So what is the tertiary sector? Simply remember it is the service sector. It is the service, and service may include your educational services, healthcare services, even banking, insurance, communication. These are the services. Service based economy exists when this sector generate the at least half, or you can say 50% of the national income and the life. That means if the contribution of a service sector, is more than 50%, right, then we can say our economy will be service based economy. Now remember, India is the service based economy. Okay, that you have to remember, because our contribution of services in the Indian economy is more than 50%. Okay, now see, the quaternary and quinary sectors have been introduced, and in a broader sense, they are the part of, we can say, tertiary sectors, or you can say they are the subsectors of the tertiary sectors. Okay, so see, primary we have discussed, secondary we have discussed, and tertiary we have discussed. Apart from that, there is a quaternary and there is a quinary. Okay, primary means simply agriculture, secondary simply it is industrial sector, third tertiary is the services, quaternary and quinary that we will discuss. Okay, now see here, the sector is by far the most important in assessing the strength of the economy. Okay, we are now discussing the quaternary sector. See first here, this is also called as the knowledge center or the knowledge sector. So remember, quaternary sector is also called as the knowledge sector. Why? Because this category includes the activity, for example, teaching, research and the development. Okay, so quaternary sector is also called as knowledge sector. Why? Because it involves teaching, researching and development. This sector is by far the most important in assessing the strength of the economy's human resource. The intellectual property aspect or the intellectual aspect of the economy is represented by the quaternary sector. So what is the quaternary sector? It is the fourth quaternary sector, is nothing but it is also called as the knowledge sector. It is also called as the knowledge sector, and it includes the activity, for example, teaching, research and the development. Okay, that you remember all about the quaternary. Now what is a quinary? Quinary sector, quinary means fifth, right? Quinary sector, it includes the activity in which key choices are made. Remember, it is the activity, it is the sector where key choices are made. For example, see, it includes the highest level of decision maker in the government and the private sector also. Okay, the number of people participating in this sector is quite small, but yet they are regarded as the brain behind the economy's socio-economic performance. Okay, so here I think you got it right. See, whatever the bureaucrats, all the bureaucrats in the government, for example, higher officer, for example, IAS, IPS, right? Then different secretary of different ministers, and there are different secretary, joint secretary, additional secretary. These all are the brains which basically run the country, right? That brains are nothing but the quinary sectors. Okay, apart from that, if you say in private sector, okay, say Tata, Ratan Tata, plus say Mahindra, right? Anand Mahindra. Apart from that, different companies owner like IBM. Apart from that, TCS. These are the very big company, right? Reliance, Adani. These are the people which are really brain in the corporate sector. So to them we call the fifth, that is a quinary sector. Okay, so remember here I will repeat all the sectors. Primary sector is simply, remember, the agriculture. Okay, where raw material we are producing, basically, for example, sugar, right? Sugar cane. Secondary sector which produces the product from the primary sector, for example, industries, right? And tertiary sector is the sector which is mainly services. Then we have discussed the quaternary means it is a knowledge sector, teaching, development, research. And quinary center is nothing but the brains. These are basically the brains, or they making the key choices. They may be bureaucrats plus corporates, So in this way, this is the summary for your sectors. Okay, now we'll move to the next. What is the differences between the sectors that we will discuss? Okay, see, primary sector. So here you can see primary sector, right? Here is a primary sector, here is a secondary sector, and here is the tertiary sector. Okay, how? We will discuss again in short difference. Agriculture, forestry or mining, these are the examples in the primary sector, right? In case of a manufacturing, the manufacturing units or small scale units, then major enterprises or the global organization, these are part of the secondary sector. For in case of a tertiary sector, banking, insurance and the communication, very easy, right? Primary sector also called as the agriculture sector. Okay, secondary is also called as the industrial and the manufacturing sector, and tertiary also called as the service sector. Primary provide a raw material for the production of a goods, whereas secondary transform that a good into the another value. For example, sugar to sugar cane, sorry, sugar cane to sugar, right? And tertiary is offers valuable services to the primary and secondary sector. For example, services means banking plus insurance, you can remember. Then unorganized and the most of the times employs odd methods. Okay, why? We know in agriculture, you just imagine how the methods they are using for the cultivation purpose, right? But in case of secondary, they are organized and employs more efficient production methods. They are using different machinery, CNC machines, right? They are using different technology to get more production. But here these are unorganized. You know, maximum agriculture producer in our country based on the humans or the farmers. They are working hard in the farm and they are not using that much of technology. Okay, now in case of tertiary, it is very well organized and you just advanced logistic or the technique to carry out the task. For example, for a banking, we are using the softwares, right? For example, you are using the core banking solutions, different softwares you are using for the purpose of transaction. You are advanced technology using. Okay, now for a primary sector, the most in the most developing economy such as India, right? This sector employs a large production of the workforce compared to the developed country. So this sector in India, we are having large workforce, because see, even agriculture does not contribute that highest for the economy, but employment is the highest in the agriculture in our India. Okay, around 120 million people directly employed in the agriculture sector, right? Since this sector requires the particular set of talent, and the employment rate is quietly in the equilibrium for the secondary. Now for tertiary, this sector's employment share has risen dramatically in the recent year. When 1980 onwards, the employment in the service or the tertiary sector is tremendously increased due to the we can say invention of the IT and the ITs. Now this is the just difference between primary, secondary and tertiary. Now we have to discuss different revolutions. Okay, so there may be a question based on this screen to you, so you have to carefully note it. Okay, so here I am going to explain the revolution name, then field or the product of that revolution, who is the father of that revolution, and the period of that revolution. So one by one, start very easy. Green revolution. So this is the for the agriculture field. MS Swaminathan was the father of revolution, of a green revolution. Period is 66 to 78. Next is the white revolution, also called as the Operation Flood. This is generally for the dairy product or milk product. White means milk, right? Easily remember. And Mr. Verghese Kurian, okay, he was the father of revolution. 70 to 96, huge period. Yellow revolution. Obviously, you can you just see the name of the revolution and how it matches with the color of its product. Yellow means oil, so oil and seed. Okay, Sam Pitru, the father of revolution, 86 to 90. So that period, it might be not important, right, for you. Okay, but the name of the revolution, field of the product, and the father of revolution is important. Now blue revolution. Blue means water blue, right? So fish and aqua. Okay, Dr. Arun Krishnan, 73 to 2002. That I am skipping that period. Okay, if you want, you can go through it. Now golden revolution. Obviously golden means yellow, right? So fruits, honey and horticulture. The important is honey, okay, here, and the horticulture also. So golden revolution, honey plus horticulture, you remember. And Nirpak Tutej, Mr. or the Dr. Nirpak Tutej. The golden fiber revolution. golden fiber means here obviously it is a jute is also called as the golden fiber. Okay, so no father. Silver revolution, silver is for egg, remember it is important for exam point of view. Silver means egg, so egg revolution, silver revolution, Indira Gandhi. Then silver fiber revolution, so silver fiber is cotton, remember golden fiber is jute, don't get a mix, right? So no father here. Okay, for jute and cotton. Then pink revolution, obviously pink means it is generally with the onion or the prawns. Okay, or it may be the pharmaceuticals. Okay, remember that three are included. Mr. Durgesh Patel is the father. Then for a brown revolution, brown means what? See, brown is means like a coca, or you can say leather. Okay, or generally non-conventional energy also called as the brown revolution. So better you remember here coca and leather, brown color, right? So Hiralal Chaudhary. Apart from that, red revolution, meat and tomato both having red color, so it is a Vishal Tiwari. Then gray revolution, gray, remember it is also important for the fertilizers. Okay, then evergreen revolution, evergreen means all, right? So overall production of agriculture, MS Swaminathan again. Black revolution, black means petroleum, right? So black, right, you know the color of the petroleum oil and petrol, like that, it is somehow black, right? So you can easily remember. Round revolution, round, so potato is round shape, so round evolution. Then protein revolution, it is agriculture for the higher production, and this term was coined by the Mr. Narendra Modi. Okay, so I think you will easily remember it. Okay, so I will again going to explain you this in the shorter way, which are important. Okay, now see here, the green revolution, important agriculture, MS Swaminathan, and white also called as the operation flood, milk or the dairy. Okay, Varghese Kurian, that both are important. Apart from that, yellow is nothing but the seed, Sam Pitrada is also important. Then you can remember here the golden fiber is jute and silver fiber is cotton. Okay, then you can easily remember here the gray revolution, important for the fertilizers. Apart from that, black is important for the petroleum. Okay, and the recent development you can easily remember, protein for the agriculture higher production by the our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Okay, so in this way that at least you should remember. Okay, and you can easily remember also Miss Indira Gandhi, right? Only the lady here, the father of the revolution, and obviously you can easily remember, that's why it is the for egg production, it is the called as the silver revolution. Okay, now we'll move to the next. See, GDP contribution of a different sector. Okay, how different sectors has contributed, that we will discuss. Now by the late of 1990, India had transmitted or transaction has been taken in India from agriculture dominance to the services. I have already told you in the beginning how Indian economy transferred from agri to services. Okay, and that started in 1990 with the services accounting or more than half of the GDP. So our economy will be service oriented economy. Now the agriculture sector accounts barely 18% of the total GDP, and service sector is 55 plus. So we are service sector oriented. Now see one by one agriculture. See here, this is the main unorganized sector. What is organized, what is unorganized, that we will be discussing here. See, simply in simple word I will tell you here, unorganized means those are not protected by the law. Okay, and organized means say bank employees, these are having very well rules and regulation. For example, working hours are fixed, their salaries are fixed, like that, and they are having unions. So unorganized sector don't have the unions. Okay, so this is the differences that we will be discussing in the next slides. So for here we'll come to the point that that agriculture sector is the unorganized sector, and which account more than 90% of the unorganized labor. So whatever the total unorganized labor we are having in the country, out of that 90% was contributed only in the agriculture. Okay, 93.4% of a total labor force of the economy, that is around 40.4 crore, is employed in the unorganized sector. So you can imagine, in our country 93.4% of total labor, which are total labor in the 93.4% of the total labor force of the economy, and which accounts around 40.4 cr, which are employed in the unorganized sector. So see how much workers in country are not secured for their job or service conditions. So you can easily see this is very huge figure, right? So we the banker, we come into around only 7%. We come in the category of 7%, which is organized. We have well organizations to protect our rights, okay, in simple words. Now see, below is the extract of the Government of India Report 2020 by the Ministry of Agriculture and the Farmers Welfare. Okay, so what is that extract? See, to mitigate the risk, in the agriculture sector, the scheme called as the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana (PMFBY) was launched in 2016. You all are very much aware. We are implementing that scheme in our banks, right? So just remember the name and the year of launch. And the purpose, remember, purpose is to mitigate the risk in the agriculture sector. Okay, agriculture gross value added GVA, as per the provisional estimate of annual national income released by Central Statistical Office CSO, Ministry of Statistics and the program implementation, the agriculture allied sector contributes approximately 17.8% of India's GVA at the current price during 1920 and marginally higher than 17.7 in the 15-16. So that means in the 2020 in the 2015 to 2009, that means during that 5 years, during that 4 to 5 years, we have increased the contribution of agriculture by 0.1% simply. Okay, in this way you can easily got it. So you first remember here what is I have to convey you. See, agriculture gross value added. What is a gross value added? Simply the value added to the product to enhance the various aspect of the product. What is a gross value added? It is a value added to the product to enhance the various aspect of the product. Now see, here you simply see what is a GDP, what is a GVA, right? What is a nominal GDP, what is the GDP at a current price, GDP at the nominal prices, that we are going to discuss in module B. Okay, in detail we are having that concepts. Okay, so here for reference you just go to the figures. Okay, so what is the contribution of agriculture? It is around 17%. Okay, and who collect the data? That also you have to remember, by the NSO. It is by the CSO, Central Statistical Office. Okay, Central Statistical Office, and which comes under the Ministry of Statistics and the program implementation. Okay, now see the second sector, industry sector. Okay, so see, industrial sector is equally vital since it promotes the economic growth, provide self-sufficiency and also the employment, generate demand for the agriculture commodity and the product also. So that's why we can say it is having ripple effect. How? See, this is suppose the sugar factory where sugar is going to produce. Okay, and they are going to sell the sugar. Okay, this is suppose the sugar box. Okay, and this is the sugar factory. Okay, and here the sugar cane production. So this is agriculture sector, this is industrial sector, and here we are selling in the market. So if this sector perform well, that means demand for the sugar cane will increase, and also on production, supply in the market will also increase. So demand for agriculture is going to increase and production is going to increase, and if production is more, employment will be more. That means overall it is boosting almost all sectors or helping all sectors all around connected, right? That's why this is effect nothing but the ripple effect. This effect is nothing but the ripple effect. Ripple means bouncing back like that. Okay, now gross value added percentage. Okay, mining and quarrying 3%, manufacturing 18%, water water supply, power and gas and other utility is 2%, construction is having 8%. Industry share of a GVA has increased from around 17% in 1950 to 29% in 2021. Okay, that financial years or that years. So How much industry share has been increased? It is around 17%, 1950 to 2021 22. So what is the percentage of a GVA? See, mining and quarrying 3%, manufacturing 18%, power, gas, water supply and water utility only 2%, and construction has 8%. Okay, so if we talk about the industrial sectors, subsector in the industry, construction is one of the important sector in the industry. Construction contributes 8%, right? And apart from that, the manufacturing considers 18%. So that's why secondary sector sometimes also called as the manufacturing or the industrial sector. Okay, so that is not important for you to remember that figures. Okay, but you have to understand what comes under the industry. In under the industry or secondary sector, you are getting the mining and quarrying, manufacturing sector, power, gas, water supply or other utility, and the construction. Okay, so that is also important when we are going to discuss the types. Okay, so now see here the journey of Indian economy summed up in the 4 pages. So if we have to study the Indian economy journey, we will make the 4 phases basically. Phase 1 is 51 to 65. Okay, it is called as the period of industrial foundation. So here, see, when we got the independence, we were not having the even factory, because British were taking the raw material from India and they are going to produce only in the Britain or England. So in England they got the industrial revolution, but we didn't have the industry in the India, right? So they are using Indian land for the only raw material production, and actually they have produced on the British land. Okay, so that period 91 to 65 was very tough for India. That time we have built our industrial foundation. Then after the Indo-Pak War 1965 to 80, that period was industrial fall, right? Why? Because after the war with the Pakistan in 65, we are having very much little resources and we are in very much stressed condition economically, right? So however, we have survived till 1980. Then 1980 to 91, that period was again good for the industry sector, and that called as the industrial recovery. Why? Because in 1980 onwards we got tremendous increase in the service sector, and 1991 onwards this is called as the post reform period. Why? Because in 1991 the reforms were adopted, called as the liberalization, privatization and globalization, LPG reforms, by the Narasimha Rao government, and the key role played during that is Dr. Manmohan Singh. Okay, later he became the prime minister. So in this way, these are the 4 pages you can easily remember. Apart from that, the index of the industrial production, called as the IIP, index of the industrial production, it measures the change in the volume of production in the given year, and for that base year is 2010-11. It is an index reflecting the growth in the broad sectors of mining, manufacturing and the electricity. So you remember simply what is IIP? It is industrial production. So mainly the important sector, for example electricity, manufacturing and mining, where we can compare the production with the base year 2010 and 11 by using the index called industrial production. Okay, now it is calculated by the NSO, National Statistic Organization or Office, which also calculate the index of the core industry, that is called as the index of core industry, ICI. 8 industries, namely refinery product, electricity, then steel, coal, crude oil, natural gas, cement and the fertilizer, these are considered as the core industry. So there are 8 industry which are core industry. That name you have to remember. Refinery, right? Then electricity, then steel, coal plus crude oil plus natural gas plus cement and the fertilizer. Okay, so that total 8 industry, cement and fertilizer you can count singly. Okay, so these are core industry. Okay, so 8 industry you have to remember: refinery products, electricity, steel, coal. Okay, then crude oil, natural gas, cement and fertilizer, that you have to remember. Now see the third sector, services. See, what is services? You have learned, right? You are working in the banking, we are providing services, so these we work in the service sector. Now if you are working in the Reliance company, right, that then you are in the secondary sector. You are working in the bank or the insurance, you are in the tertiary service sector. See, the sector produces the intangible or the invisible goods. We are providing services, we are not producing any physical goods, right, for the businesses as well as the consumers. Financial services, real estate, property ownership, professional services, communal, social or the personal services, then government administrations or even defense and other services are the part of the services. Now, subsector of the service sector, there is some subsectors. For example, see, trading or trade, repairing, hotel and restaurant, then transport, storage, communication, broadcasting, railway, road transport, water transport, air transport, storage, financial services, real estate, and the professional services. These are also called as the subsector of the service sectors. Okay, you don't need to worry about that name, you just understand it. Okay, now the service sector accounts around 54% of the India's GVA. So if it is more than 50%, we can say our economy is service oriented economy. An important finding is that service sector does not generate job in that proportion as the proportion in the GVA. So it is having 54% of the contribution in the GVA, but contribution in the generation of job is not in proportion with the that 54%. That means it is less than 54%, obviously. Okay, so it is important to note that we are the service sector economy. Apart from that, we can see the sectors of the Indian economy. Okay, see, here are some figures for you. As per the finding of the Ministry of Statistics and the program implementation, MOSPI, in the year 19 and 20, the share of service sector in the GVA was 55.3. World Investment Report 21 by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, called as the UNCTAD, India in 2022 was the 5th largest recipient of the FDI. Okay, so you remember here important bit, India is the 5th largest recipient of the FDI. Okay, that bit you have to remember. India is 5th in case of receiving the foreign direct investment. FDI means foreign direct investment. Okay, so we are receiving investment in the dollars, in euro, right? So that is nothing but the foreign direct investment. Okay, so when it was in 2020 during COVID, right, it has made a global impact by being among the top 10 services exporter countries. Okay, so we are among the top 10 service exporter countries. So I have already told you, we are the service oriented economy. We are exporting our services, okay, to the whole world, right, by the way of TCS, Infosys. We are having great company, software, IBM. Okay, apart from that, we are different BPO services being exported from the India. So we are one of the in the top 10 service exporting countries, in the top 10. Now net service export, about 40% pertain to the software, and out of the total service export we are having, only software industry is 40%. Okay, so role of a software industry is tremendously increased in India. Okay, now employment growth rate in the secondary sector. What is a secondary? Manufacturing employs 12% of the labor force. Construction is the second largest after the agriculture, and construction employs 31 million people, and which is 8% of total employment. So it is important to note, manufacturing is having 12% of the employment and construction is having 8% of the employment. That two figure you have to remember importantly. Apart from that, here you should remember India is the 5th recipient for the FDI in 2020. Okay, that is also important. And India, and out of total export in case of software, India's software out of total export in case of services, contribution of software is 40%. Okay, that you have to note. Now see, sunrise sector of the Indian economy. What is the sunrise sector? See, sunrise means what? See, sun. Okay, so this is the diagram. Okay, here is sun. We draw diagram during our schools, right? So sunrise means what? Sun is rising means simply the sector or the businesses unit which are rising that means which will grow further, right? So in this way you remember, okay, sunrise industry is the new business for the business sector showing potential for the growth, we can say substantial or the rapid growth. For example, energy, that is green energy. Now fintech, these are booming, right? For example, Bharat Pay, IT, TCS, Infosys, electronics. Then different now China made mobiles are very much entering in the India, right? Electronics, pharmaceuticals, automobile, new cars launching, healthcare, infrastructure sector, retail, processing plants, and other emerging sector. These are the part of a sunrise sector. What do you mean by sunrise? Simply it is a new business which has a potential to grow. That is all simply the sunrise industry. Now, what do you mean by organized and unorganized sector? This is very easy. See, organized means job terms are stable. You just remember, organized means the government bank employee, and unorganized means simply one person which is working at any store for temporary or contract basis. Okay, then you will get it sorted. See, organized means the sector where job terms are stable, these are consistent, employee have guaranteed work, social security is also there, and and the organized sector compromises of the, it may be manufacturing, it may be enterprise, it may be a business, schools, hospitals, and the unit registered with the governments. Okay, this is organized. Now see, in case of unorganized, the sector employment terms are not defined, right, or not regular, enterprises are not registered with the government, and for example, construction worker, they do not have any union, they do not have regulated working hours, right? Domestic workers, street workers, or a home based worker, even self-employed worker or the wage worker in an unorganized sector is the unorganized workers. Now see, the law wages are unstable, they are getting irregular work, and a lack of protection from the legislation or even say trade unions. Okay, they don't have, unorganized sector don't have the union, so they are very much lagging in their services, okay, regulated services. Now according to the NCUUS, that is a National Commission for Enterprise in the unorganized sector consists of the proprietary and partnership firm and within fewer than the total 10 workers. Means if you are having partnership or proprietary firm, if you are having less than 10 workers, then you that workers are counted in the unorganized sectors. So generally see, any small company or the firm generally do not employ, they do not show on paper they are having employee more than 10. So they will try to show we are having employee less than 10, because they will then they are not able to count in the organized sector. Okay, now we will be discussing the comparison in detail also. Now apart from that, what is an informal worker and what is a formal worker? See, informal worker are defined as those worker who work in the unorganized firm or the family, excluding regular workers with social security benefit. Means simply, what is informal? Informal are those unorganized worker which are getting in addition only the social security benefit. For example, the worker who are working in the construction site, they have enrolled for the social security benefit. For example, say NPS they have enrolled, okay, or they are getting some government benefit, for example Atal Pension Yojana, or they are getting benefit like Garib Kalyan Yojana. So they are the part of informal workers. Now what is the formal sector workers? Simply who do not get any employment benefit or no social security from the employee, simply they are the employee of the formal sector. Okay, so this is simple difference between the informal means getting some social security, whereas for a formal, zero social security. Now see here difference between the organized and unorganized sector. So here, what is the meaning of the organized sector? It is sector where employment terms are fixed, regular, and the employees get assured work. For example, bank. Unregularized sector is a sector where they are small and scattered units. They are having small and scattered units which are largely not registered with the government. For example, construction workers. These are governed by various Factory Act, then Bonus Act, PF Act, Minimum Wages Act, Trade Union Act, right? Apart from that, the unorganized sector not governed by the any act. Okay. Then government rules, they are strictly following, they do not follow any government rules. Remuneration, they are getting regular remuneration as per the legal binding, they are getting the daily wages. Now see, job security. Okay, now see here, the job security. Job security for organized sector is very high, that is we can say good, say bank employee. Okay, now in case of unorganized sector, there is no job security, employment is not secure, person can be asked to leave without any reason, right? Working hours for organized sector is fixed, for unorganized it is not fixed. Salary of worker it is as per the prescribed by the government, it is less than the prescribed. Contribution to PPF, that is a provident fund, that is a PF, sorry, contribution to the PF, provident fund, yes. Contribution to be for unorganized, it is no. Increment in the salary, yes, there is a yearly increment in the salary. Benefit and perquisites, employee get add-on benefit like a medical facility, pensions, leave, travel compensation, etc. Here no. And for example, government employee or registered industrial workers, okay, or you can say bank employee who come under the category of say IBA, or here unorganized means shopkeeping, farming, construction, or simply domestic workers. Okay, so these are the differences. Now we will just go through the summary what we have learned. Simply, what is a primary sector? This is the sector where direct uses the natural resources, for example agriculture, right? What is secondary? Which processes the raw material from the primary sector, for example industrial sector. For example, we can say sugar cane factory or sugar factory simply. What is tertiary sector? It is also called as simply service sector like education, healthcare, banking, insurance. What is a quaternary sector? There is fourth quaternary, it is also called as the knowledge sector. It includes teaching plus research plus development. And agriculture share of the economy is economy's gross income has been declining. Now the share of industry and services has been increasing. That's why we are the service oriented economy. Now see, industry share of GVA has increased, right? So see, industry share of the GVA has increased from 17% in, it was 17% in 50-51 to the 29% in the 2021. So this is for the industry, right? For services, it is increased 33% in 50 to 53% in 2021. So see, increase in the industry is 17 to 29. For industry, it is 17 to 29. For services, it is increased from 33 to 53 since independence to till 2022. Okay, the construction sector is the second largest employment in the country after the agriculture. So first employment provided by the agriculture, secondly it is by the construction sector. Okay, important, remember. The employs over 31 million people and accounting for around 8% of the total employment. So out of total employment, construction is at a second position after agri, and it is having 8% of the employment. So it is very huge. Now that's why government has launched one special scheme for the construction workers also. I think it is Garib Kalyan Yojana. You just go through it. Now see, sunrise sector. What is sector sunrise? That sector simply which is the emerging sector. It may be the infrastructure, fintech, green energy, okay, IT, electronic, it may be any sector, but it should be the sunrise means emerging sectors. Then organized sector means who are getting the salary, working hours regulated, and they are registered with the government or even government employee. Unorganized sector means simply the sector, right, where they are not defined their regulatory work, they do not have the regular or the regulated working hours or even salary, okay, and they are not registered with the government. For example, construction workers. Okay, now see some sample questions. Which is not the component of primary sector? See, agriculture is primary, fishing and forestry, these are also primary. Why? They are using the raw material, they do not process it. Okay, so agri, forestry, fishing, they are the primary sector. Construction is a secondary sector. Okay, construction is the manufacturing or the secondary sector construction, because they use cement and different material to construct it Okay, so it is a secondary. So which is not a primary? Construction is not a primary. Quaternary sector is a part of. Quaternary sector is a part of. It is a part of services. Remember, quaternary. See, primary, secondary, and tertiary. Tertiary means basically services, and quaternary is basically the part of services. That is tertiary sector. So remember, quaternary is a part of services. Okay, what include in the quaternary? It includes the research, teaching, and development. Okay, that is nothing but the part of services. Okay, that is also important question for you. Now, what is a black revolution? Black revolution, remember the color, it is the petroleum. For egg, it is a silver revolution. Father is Indira Gandhi. Okay, remember in this way. Okay, and a petroleum is black revolution. Which sector contribute to the most of the national GDP or national output? Obviously, it is a service sector. Highest contribution for India is service sector, and that's why we are the service oriented economy. Okay, agriculture is around 17%, then industry, and lastly highest is by the services sector. Okay, so in this way we have compared the question. See the last question: which sector provide maximum employment in India? See, contribution is GDP by the service sector, but if it is employment, then agriculture have the highest employment in the India. Okay, so answer will be agriculture. Okay, so here I think we come to the last screen. So here you have to subscribe our YouTube channel Banker Zone. Apart from that, you can download the application for your study. There is a dedicated app for Jaiib, Banker Zone Jaiib. The link given in the description. Happy learning.